Top story this week, Hack Attack Part 2. And, well, Andy, the News of the World scandal has deepened this week, taking all the attention of News International staff. I presume that's the case, as they definitely can't have had time to listen to the Bugle last week. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't be doing this right now. So, just when you thought this story couldn't get any more disgusting, new revelations emerged that were even more sickening. Following this story was like walking through a fetid sewer, consoling yourself with the fact that things couldn't get any worse, and then having a pile of shit dumped on your head. The tornado of criticism got so strong that Rupert Murdoch was forced to abandon his bid to take full ownership of B-Sky B, which is a tragedy. Oh, Andy, I'm sorry, I think I might have misused the word tragedy there. What's the phrase for when something absolutely awful nearly happens and then doesn't? Oh, lucky escape. That's right. That's the phrase I was looking for. Lucky escape.
So as you said, we are still here, which means, well, either, possibly means that no one in News International listens to the Bugle, or that they do listen to the Bugle, but they've been a bit busy with other stuff this week, and they're going to catch up shortly. Or that they have listened to last week's Bugle and fully endorse every word said on it, and every word said in your piece, which you stuck the boot in on the Daily Show.
I put my boot somewhere, and then I see it as they ran extremely hard into it with the things that they did.
Yeah, I guess,
my boot was stationary. They ran into my foot, Andy.
Well, I guess that will be settled in a court of law, John, with the help of a physicist. But anyway, I thought I'd better find out for sure. So I hacked into Rupert Murdoch's phone. And
that's good.
Would you believe it, that his hold music, John, is you singing Bon Jovi's Bed of Roses? And 95% of all of his voicemails are just Rebecca Brooks ringing up and going on about what an absolute dreamboat I am. And trying to persuade Rupert to sanction an Andy Zaltzman swimwear calendar to put out with the Sunday Times.
Wow.
Well, I won't do it, Brooks. I'm not a f***ing piece of meat. Unless by swimwear you mean whale skin. I guess that's swimwear of a sort for whales. And I want the whale still alive. I'll do your calendar, even though you have now resigned since I wrote the joke. I will do this calendar only if you can arrange for me to be non-fatally eaten by a whale, Jonah style. Because I've always wondered, John, what Jonah must have thought whilst inside that whale, because you know the Bible writers would have spun it like a teenage Chinese ice skater at triple salco practice. Of course, the official line is that God sent the whale, gave little Jonah a complimentary 3-night full board mini break inside it, and then made the whale puke him out in time to get home for his Thursday bridge night. But Jonah's personal diary, however, suggests a slightly different story, recently declassified under the Freedom of Information Act. Day 1. F*** me, I've been swallowed by a fucking whale. I thought I was toast when those sailors took me at my word and lobbed me into the fucking sea, but I've been swallowed by a whale. I always wondered what it would be like to be a bit of plankton. This is going to be awesome. The trip of a lifetime. Day 2. It is fucking disgusting in here. It absolutely stinks of rotting fish, stomach acids everywhere, and the gas. Don't even get me started on the gas. I really need to tidy my room. And the big watery bastard stomach muscles keep contracting and expanding, trying to digest me, so I can't even get 20 minutes skip without being launched around his belly like a rabbit on a roller coaster. Oh shit, I seriously cannot see being eaten by a whale catching on as a novelty adventure holiday. This whale seriously needs to eat some dried apricots if I ever want to get out of here. I'm at the end of my tether, TBH. A diet of half-digested krill and plankton carpaccio is not doing my figure any good whatsoever, and I'm pretty sure this whale doesn't keep kosher either. It's dark. Please excuse my handwriting? Oh, handwriting. Oh, yeah. And I've been holding my breath for 36 hours now. Day 3. I feel shit. Whale shit. Everywhere. All around me. I've got to get out of here. Through this digestive phase, I've been largely dissolved, I've had most of my bones crushed, and I'm now suffering serious oxygen deprivation. I'm beginning to think I might die in here. Hang on, now it sounds like the whale's unfolding a newspaper. Must be a copy of Aquatic Mammals Daily. He's turning to the back page. He's settling down. Yes! Cryptic crossword, that could mean only one thing. I'm out of here! I've had some rocky relationships in my time, but I never thought I'd be so glad to get dumped. Day 4. Back home safe. God's been in touch. He told me not to sell my story or he'll whack me out with a lightning bolt. He can be a really domineering boss sometimes, so controlling, obsessed with the growth of his empire even if he's increasingly out of touch and relies on his staff lower down the company hierarchy to do his dirty work for him. Typical tycoon. Anywho, he wants me to hold a press conference this afternoon and say that it was a f***ing breeze being eaten by a whale, and that I was vomited up, not crapped out. He says he'll do one of his magic corrective surgeries on me, so I guess I'll have to suck it up. I don't see why he thinks the Bible-reading public are going to buy that patent bullshit, or why being chundered is so much more saleable as a story than being shat. But hey, he's the gaffer, and he'd better give me a really flashy new donkey for this as a deal sweetener. There you go.
Well, good point, Andy.
Yep.
Good point. Well made.
No point. Longly made. I think that's what we meant.
That's what I meant to say. So, police are apparently contacting about 30 suspected hacking victims a week now, after investigations identified some 4,000 possible targets. And it's getting to the stage where if you haven't had your phone tapped, you're going to start worrying what was wrong with you. Why don't they want to tap my phone, Andy? This is becoming a self-esteem issue now. Am I not good enough to tap? They should be tapping the shit out of this good stuff, Andy. I want to feel tap-worthy. Tap me! Tap me! God, the News of the World is the ultimate bad boy, Andy. You just want their attention.
So Rebecca Brooks has, the former editor of the News of the World at the time when the now defunct ex-crap rag did not so much scrape the barrel of investigative journalism as detonate a landmine in the barrel, then use industrial mining equipment to dig down several hundred metres underneath the barrel just to make sure they hadn't missed anything. Anyway, Brooks has quitted. She's resigned. Despite the backing from the Murdochs throughout the schmozzle so far, and also despite being found by an internal News International investigation to be, quotes, completely and verifiably not a witch, she sank straight to the bottom of our jacuzzi of justice and has not owned a cauldron for several years now. Despite all this, she has stepped down as Chief Executive of News International, as the continuing shitstorm of justified indignation, opportunistic political grandstanding, rightfully appalled disgust and high-octane journalistic sanctimony claims its highest-profile victim yet. Brooks said that she wanted to, quotes, reiterate how sorry I am for what we now know to have taken place. And between the lines, I think she means how sorry I am that the world now knows that it took place.
Yeah, that's the apology.
She also said she was planning to resign anyway, in order to pursue her lifelong dream of being the first woman ever to cross Africa on a pogo stick. She said, I found in recent weeks that being the epicentre of a global tornado of revulsion has really curtailed the amount of time I can dedicate to practising boinging around on my pogo. Some days I've only been able to boing for like an hour, and I really need to do 3 hours a day on the boing to build up to the Africa trip. If I don't boing up good in the next few months, I run the risk of being fully boinged out by the time I'm even halfway across Somalia. I just want to bounce. That was from the press conference this morning.
New revelations came out this week about Gordon Brown's financial records being tapped, as well as the newspaper finding out about his child having cystic fibrosis and very classily deciding to run that as a story. And these revelations also led to Rupert Murdoch and his son James being summoned to appear in front of a House of Commons inquiry board next Tuesday. The problem was that they're not British citizens, so that was not legally binding. And initially, Rupert Murdoch declined to appear, basically sending an RSVP saying, "Oh, what a lovely invitation. I was so glad to receive it from the court-appointed messenger who placed it in my hand. Sadly, I will be unable to attend due to a prior engagement of not being anywhere near your stupid f***ing inquiry. I hope it all goes well and that you all have a lovely time. Go f*** yourselves, Roop." So, later, reports came out alleging that he'd also claimed he couldn't make it because he was, 1, allergic to panels, 2, was too shy, and 3, had actually died in 1994. So it seemed for a while like we were going to have to trick all 3 of them into appearing. MPs had looked into what kind of bait they might find the most appealing. Hugh Grant had said he'd be willing to sit inside a sack of cocaine in the hope of tempting them into the room. Then the inquiry would just jump out from behind a sofa and begin immediately questioning them. They'd also looked into hiding an attractive, white, missing 7-year-old girl in there, as well as a footballer and a Page 3 model. It was thought there was no way they could resist those 3 things, Andy. That's their 3 favourite flavours of catnip. But just as they were setting that trap, it emerged that Rupert Murdoch had caved under pressure and said that he would actually attend, which raises the likelihood that on Tuesday we will see him, his son James and Rebecca Brooks in front of the MPs, which Don King is already currently in negotiations to promote. And if they do get them before an inquiry, get ready for some pretty nauseating moral grandstanding from the committee as well. Because there are few more disgusting sights in life than politicians ostentatiously criticising wrongdoers who they were completely complicit in not preventing from doing wrong.
As you said, there is a bit of a spat now between News International and former Prime Minister Gordon Brown, who accused reporters of, quote, law-breaking on an industrial scale and acting as a criminal media nexus. Strong words, and Murdoch has hit back by accusing Gordon Brown of lying in Parliament. So it is going to get feisty, John. This is, as you say, this is classic pre-fight trash talking. Yeah. This is... Actually, it would be good. I think maybe Don King would be the ideal speaker for the House of Commons to replace...
Perfect.
John
Absolutely
Bercow
perfect speaker.
For the duration of this. But the Sun claims that it found out via a member of the public that Brown's young son, Fraser, had cystic fibrosis. Anyway, here is a quiz for you. What did they do with this information once they'd found it out? A, nothing. They realised it clearly, verifiably and incontrovertibly had less than 0% relevance to the public as a news story, being as it was a personal matter of considerable sensitivity to the Brown family and their baby son, with absolutely no conceivable impact on how Brown could do his job as Chancellor. Or B, splashed it all over the front page of Britain's biggest selling newspaper, then boasted about how it was setting the news agenda. A or B? That's a depressing question, John. Now, I know we all get questions wrong sometimes.
Yes.
As the 40% divorce rate in both the USA and the UK can testify. But I think they should have got that one right. I think they should have gone A. They should have gone A.
But even Gordon Brown, Andy, who I don't think anyone would say has not been a victim in all of this, was also complicit in the complete lack of oversight given to News International and their behaviour. As Prime Minister, he apparently went to Rebecca Brooks's wedding, and his wife Sarah Brown invited Brooks to a quote, slumber party at Chequers. And I do think that while they were slumbering...
That's an Ann Summers party, John, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah. I do think while they were slumbering, Rebecca Brooks was probably going through their underwear drawer. You don't invite that jackal into your home.
So it's also turned out that 9/11 victims and their families might have had their phones hacked as well. And now, how, John, I'm going to give you a quiz question here. How is this going to go down in America? A, no biggie.
Yes.
No biggie. It's a free country. The home of the free, no less. People should be able to intrude on the private grief of whomever they want, for whatever reason, whether for commercial gain, pointless journalistic shit-scooping, or merely just for a laugh. B, about as well as bombing Pearl Harbor did. Or C, as long as it doesn't affect the broadcasting of American Idol, they can wear it.
Is there not an option D of really well? Really well. They'll be really happy to hear that story.
You can have D if you want.
I don't think it's going to be necessary. The relationship between politicians and News International has been a truly dysfunctional marriage over the years, and perhaps many people should have seen a scandal like this coming. Just listen to the wedding vows that they gave each other years ago when Murdoch first took control of those papers. Do you, News International, take this esteemed political body to hound and to investigate, to hack and to harass, as long as you shall be in print? And do you promise to do this with a poor command over the English language, and to undercut the gravity of any actual stories you may stumble over by placing them next to a picture of a celebrity in a bikini? And do you promise horoscopes? I do. Very well. And do you, political body, take this paper to prostitute yourself in front of, to cower in fear of, and curry favour with, as long as you shall remain in office? And when doing this, will you make sure that it compromises your ability to best serve your constituents, as well as compromising every principle you've ever held close to your heart? And will you take steps to ensure that this relationship is at best troubling and at worst criminal? I do. Very good. Therefore, with the powers invested in me, I hereby pronounce you two an accident waiting to happen. You may hound the bride.
Is that what's going to be said at your wedding? Well, they did. Politicians have prostituted themselves, as you say. They've essentially prostituted themselves so much that they might as well have dressed up all their policies in push-up bras and fishnet stockings, whilst a dodgy-looking man was standing behind them taking 85% of all of their votes.
So, where now for the future of the press? That seems to be the big question in England at the moment. And Deputy Prime Minister Nick Clegg said a raucous, probing press able to hold politicians to account comes at a price. Journalists will always operate at the boundaries of what is and isn't acceptable in order to unearth the truth for the sake of the public interest. And we need to have a proper debate about where that line lies. And it seems, Andy, that now journalist ethics are basically like doping in athletics. You just presume that everyone's cheating, it's just how much. And it now means that there's a cloud over every story. There must be some way of journalists having to take urine tests after filing each report.
And that boundary, well, they say they operate on the boundary, if I may use a cricket analogy. I think the boundary they're operating on is some way outside the stadium most of the time. But politicians have always loved a bandwagon, and they have had their jumping boots on this week. And the slamming the media bandwagon is now looking like a cart full of refugees desperately in search of food. But will this mark a genuine turning point, John? Because they, for too long now, the politicians have bent over backwards, forwards, and any other way the media wanted them in order to curry favour. But that curried flavour often left an unpleasant aftertaste and disconcerting political flatulence. So, I don't know, I think they need a less spicy diet.